Last year I posted my initial reactions to P5X, and I didn't like it at all. I was beyond frustrated that ATLUS would trend chase and bother to invest in a phone game of all things, which are, more than often, quick cash grabs made to siphon fans out of their hard-earned money. In the mid-2000s, the company did something similar with SMT, Imagine, when MMORPGs were at the height of their popularity, and this had cascading effects on ATLUS's financials when it was not a successful venture. And I happen to like ATLUS games, a whole heck of a lot, and I want them to make more creative RPGs for years to come. And let's be real, the P5 brand is more than 8 years old now. Joker and his friends have been fighting gods and demons and gods in the form of cups for what feels like forever. How long will these kids have to fight just so ATLUS can line their pockets? I just want Joker to be finally able to rest in peace. How long will we have to suffer? Then I played the game and oh wow, it was actually pretty good. So let's break it down. The story, gameplay, gacha elements, and how it compares to the original Persona 5. Will P5X be a stain on Persona's brand legacy, or will it make a splash and disrupt the current gacha game ecosystem? Let's find out together. P5X begins just like normal P5. You're playing as Joker and escaping a casino, when all of a sudden, a masked man attacks. They battle it out in the most over-the-top way you've ever seen, and Joker loses to the masked man, which reveals himself to be our main character. Then he wakes up. Oh, it was all a dream. Wonder then goes to school, dozes off, and has a dream about Igor and Mirope. Igor speaks in his water-themed velvet room about how Wonder's desires have been stolen from him. Then he wakes up from his wet dream and heads back home. As he's waiting for the train, Wonder actually sees someone jump off a building right in front of his eyes, and no one cares. The other witnesses are completely indifferent to this event, almost like it didn't even happen. And eventually, Wonder feels the same. He sits down on the train and then is jumped by someone delivering Uber Eats. He accidentally hits the Metaverse app on his phone and ends up in Mementos. Eventually, he awakens his persona, JohneAwesome, and from there, it starts to feel a bit similar to base Persona 5, taking down a sports-themed adult who is awful to women, to put it lightly. The interesting thing is, after the first palace though, things begin to diverge very quickly. Now granted, I can't read Korean, so I'm lacking context on the details, but there are already huge differences that despite the language barrier, I can tell already that P5X is going in new and possibly very weird places. And I'll leave it at that for spoiler reasons. Outside the main story quest, you also have crossfade episodes, event side stories that feature the OG Phantom Thieves. And they are not much to write home about narrative-wise, but they exist. And so far, that's the extent of Joker and crew's involvement in P5X. It's primarily a game featuring OCs, and frankly, I prefer it that way, because the OCs in P5X are pretty great. We have a wide range of characters, like a computer programmer you befriend on an online game, a first-year college student who was born in China, who's trying to overcome the language barrier here in Tokyo, and a 25-year-old intern doctor, who he's a little bit on the freaky side. He a freak, bro. Each of these characters, while not Phantom Thieves, are still people who Wonder encounters in his day-to-day life, and become phantom idols due to Wonder's cognition, and are the characters you pull for in the gacha. So while my beloved Yue she has the voice of an angel, doesn't have a palace or story arc centered around her, she still has a lengthy confidant exploring her character in depth. Just like base P5, a good chunk of time is spent on your confidants, listening to their problems and staring at Miyu's creepy effing puppet. There are a ton of confidants already, but sadly they aren't all created equal. It's pretty unanimously agreed upon that the initial confidant stories are not the best, and are often just used to introduce new characters into the setting. While that's something traditional Persona games do as well, P5X does it a lot. And sometimes they introduce two characters in the same confidant, and it's like, what? I'm here for Tomoko. I don't care about these girls. Excuse me? And while there are technically 20 ranks to this confidant, not all of them are ranks containing story progress, so some of them aren't the best. So don't get your hopes up that they will match the narrative quality of previous games in the series. However, this is a game in progress, and limited characters tend to have a lot more love and care put into their presentation and storytelling, such as Cord, who received an entire music video and unique song for her release, and has an above-average story regarding performance anxiety. I like her. There are also some side quest-only characters, and they are fine. Just filler content, no voice acting, but I do hope my homie Anderson, he can find love. I'm rooting for you, Muscle Gorilla. My God, he's a champ. But for the most part, I'm mainly focused around the gameplay of P5X, and I'm happy to report it's pretty interesting. In normal Persona, you buff yourself with Tarikaja, you concentrate, you get an all-out attack, and that's good enough for a console game. But P5X has a bit more depth in how you go about doing damage, as the character kits are, well, gacha game kits, and have more options than a vanilla Persona team. For example, my favorite team right now is Vino, Cord, and of course Yue. Yue is our anchor character, so everyone is doing their part to improve her damage so she can clean house. Essentially, Vino throws out debuffs, one of those debuffs being static, so the enemy will be crit more. Cord has a generic buff for Yue, but she also supercharges her highlight. And Yue's whole thing is she has something called a playmate. She selects a character, in my case Vino, to be the playmate of choice. Every time that character attacks, Yue has a chance to follow it up. If she does her highlight though, the follow-up is guaranteed. Wait, did I just get one shot? This team sucks! You fight shadows in many different ways in P5X. There is a soft PvP mode in the form of Sea of Souls, where you battle 2 bosses and attempt to get the highest score possible to compete with other players. The higher ranks receive better rewards, like gacha currency and tokens to purchase rare personas. I will say though, it's pretty lenient and feels very casual because the ranks for the best rewards are frankly gigantic. As long as you try, you're pretty much guaranteed to get the best gacha currency every week or so. There is also Door of Nightmares, which is a guild versus guild affair with similar rankings. There's Velvet Room challenges, which, like in P5 Royal, you need to defeat opponents efficiently to earn stars to obtain rewards, like yet again, gacha currency. But there's also rewards in there to upgrade your main character, and these encounters are static. You can try and battle them whenever you want and improve on your score. Retrying the stages, devising different strategies, like, oh, I only got 2 stars on this one. Let me try this. Maybe this will work. It's easily the coolest mode. I really like it a lot. I want more of that. It's a blast. There's the box standard roguelike mode, Heart Rail, and you get items that augment your stats. The better you do in that mode, you earn points for a battle pass of sorts. It doesn't go away. It's just anytime content. It's always nice to have. And of course, wouldn't be a gacha game without limited time events, which are more often than not, you fighting something of some kind in some unique way. The last event we had us take on 2 big bosses multiple times, but every time we beat a version of the boss, it leveled up, and then restrictions were placed on us, like no healers and curse damage lowered, that kind of thing. I liked it a lot. It was very unique. Some events, though, are just, hey, you know, more materials than usual. Go beat up this shadow that you can kill in like 2 hits. You also explore the palaces, which in P5X are huge! Like, way bigger than P5 palaces. And exploring every single room, fighting all the mini-bosses, etc. contributes to your exploration percentage. Explore more of the palace, you get more loot. I wouldn't necessarily call any of it hard or challenging, though. The puzzles inside the palaces are things like push a block, freeze some water, simple stuff that you can easily do with phone controls. But it's not anything I'll be raving about, you know, like Ocarina of Time was 25 years ago. There are also miniature versions of OG P5 palaces. My God, they are a pain to get through. Madarame's palace was a bit better than Kamoshida's, but I don't know anybody that was like, oh, the Kamoshida event was so cool. It was bad. But Madarame's, you know, they're improving, is what I'm getting at. There's also Mementos exploration, and it's not offensive, but I'm not jumping for joy about new Mementos floors. I've been on team anti-Mementos since the very beginning, okay? But like, yeah, you run around in the car, collect some stuff. It's fine, inoffensive. You don't have to do it very often. When new floors come out, yeah, you're gonna go in there for the rewards, but the majority of the time you're gonna be in other modes. And lastly, you augment your characters by visiting domains and farming revelation cards. And I know what you're thinking. No, it's nothing like Hoyoverse games. There is way less RNG, and you mainly only need the main stat for the revelation card to be able to use it on your character. This is my first experience with an artifact-like system, and I literally have no complaints. If you want to be hardcore and farm for that new character, you can mass farm a domain too. Beat it once, then you can choose how much stamina you want to spend on the domain. If you spend 5 times the amount, you get 5 times of the materials, which is apparently pretty unique. Like, not a lot of games have that concept of not wasting our time. And they're implementing a system next patch so you can lock in specific stats with a revelation card and re-roll the stats that you don't want. We all know what it's like to have an RNG weapon or artifact or whatever, and it's almost perfect, but it has a healing bonus on it. My character can't heal. It's such a buzzkill, nobody likes that. So the fact that the developers are considering that and implementing that in a P5X, it's a good sign that they're aware of the shortcomings of similar game features and are listening to fan feedback. And really all around, this game has great quality of life. My usual login day for P5X is to spend my city stamina, which takes no time. You either do part-time job or a little bit of confidant progress, use my mementos stamina to farm uncapped materials, revelation cards, personas, that kind of thing. Then I log off if I don't want to play anymore. And the devs hand out stamina potions so frequently. So if you don't have a lot of time to play today, just get your potion, log in later, then you can mass farm or grind or whatever you want to do. That's my ideal way to play. To me, it's almost the perfect gacha game. Except for the fact it's insanely glitchy, and some of the events, they feel cheap. To call it a budget gacha game would be a bit rude, but when comparing the original content of P5X to the rest of the market, it's more than a little rough around the edges. Wonder's PS4 controller has been glitched in his coffee table since launch, and I don't think they're gonna fix that anytime soon. Some spell effects play 4 times instead of 1, and it really hurts my ears. And you can't tell just from the gameplay footage alone, but when Wonder's inside a palace, he feels really slippery. And sometimes it's just hard to move in a straight line, even if there's no enemies to lag out the game. Blackwing Studios is making big changes every patch, but sometimes I get the feeling they're a little understaffed, because even 100 days later, we have audio issues, and they cannot figure out how to program a slope. The slope incident, they fixed it now, but my God, that was rough. I'm an optimist, but I'm a realist. Now let's get real. Monetization. What are the rates? What is the in-game currency income like? P5X has 3 kind of currencies for the gacha. One which allows you to pull from the limited character banner, 1 currency for weapon banners, and standard cards, which you use for the standard banner characters. For the limited banner, you have 80 pulls till you hit Soft Pity. Then you have a 50-50 chance to get the banner character, and if you lose the 50-50, your next 80 rolls will guarantee the character. This is the standard, however, they are adding an option very soon to choose between 50-50 or a guarantee with different pity rates. Personally, not a fan of the 50-50 system, so I'm glad that developers are considering giving fans more options rather than less. Standard banners aren't really anything too exciting. When you first start the game, there's a promo that will let you choose between some select standard 5 stars. Guaranteed after 300 standard rolls, which you get a lot faster than you might think. Only problem is that promo is a one-time thing. After that, you have to hit hard pity and just pray you get the character you want instead of a Ryuji dupe, because there's no rate up. And then there is the weapon banner. Each character holds a weapon, of course, and they buff the character in certain ways, depending on the rarity of said weapon. 3 stars are outclassed by 4 stars, and 5 stars are obviously the most desirable weapons. 4-star weapons are incredibly accessible because there are weekly boss rematches that give a currency. You exchange that currency for a 4-star weapon of your choice. So if you're really trying to fill out your roster, it's a non-issue if you're okay with just 4 stars. But if you want those 5-star weapons, the banner is cheaper compared to the character banner, and you can also select 2 other weapons that will appear if you lose your 50-50, instead of it just being a completely random weapon in the pool. Weapons are character specific, and unless they add another weapon for existing characters, the system really isn't that bad. You only pull for weapons for anchor characters like a DPS because their attack stat matters the most. I will say though, it's a bit worrying because the devs can easily create incomplete character kits who literally need their 5-star weapons to become viable. This severance of character and weapon could eventually lead to that point, but as for now, that's just speculation. I can honestly say no character in this game is like that, but that could always change. One nice feature though, as opposed to the competition, is for example when you level up a 4-star weapon for a Phantom Thief, and you evenctually get the 5-star. The uncap ranks and the item level carry over So you don't need to drain your materials all over again just because you got a new weapon. And here's the thing. All the characters you saw in today's video, all these shiny 5-star weapons, I acquired by being completely free to play. I was under the assumption that foreigners couldn't purchase Korean currency like in-game at all. So ever since, I've just been free to play, and I've got just tons of characters. I've had a blast. Am I a little bit lucky? Yeah, but I don't go for every 5-star character or weapon. Additionally, if you just play the game, you get tons of pull currency. The developers are very liberal with handing out free stuff because it's a game in progress. Will it stay like that forever? I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's pretty nice. That's the general consensus. I polled some English fans who are also checking out the game early for some common criticisms. And it is true, there's not a lot of male characters in-game, not a lot of male confidants. I think there's like only 3 and like, I don't know, 11 female confidants. Yeah, that's an issue. It's also not getting a simultaneous worldwide release. I'm playing the Korean version. I think it's like 2 weeks behind from the Chinese version. And frankly, I don't mind that. By the time the patch comes to Korea, there's way less glitches. It's nice. There's still glitches, but, you know, less. But yeah, not launching simultaneously around the world, that's a little bit of a head scratcher. That's kind of the norm, right? International players see all the characters that the Chinese server gets, and they're like, oh gosh, it looks so cool, wish I could play, but you can't get in easily. And then by the time the character comes, you know, to global, it's been like a year and a half. It's not necessarily as exciting. Is there a chance they can merge the servers? Probably not. Like, that's just a pipe dream. Another critique is that, well, some people are rightfully so think, why would I play this over Star Rail? Let's not kid ourselves. The gameplay, the follow-up style, the artifacts, they are derivative to an extent. And I really thought about it. I'm like, dang, what is different from Star Rail to P5X? You got navigators. I don't think there's an equivalent in that game. And there's persona fusion. That's kind of it. Oh, and I guess confidants. There's not really an equivalent of that. So is Blackwing Studios going to steal all the Star Rail customers? Absolutely not. That's just not going to happen. So please temper your expectations. And speaking of persona fusion, it is not a good feeling system. You need to spend stamina, which is a lot, to get a chance to recruit a persona in some cases. And if you already have that persona, then you get a medallion. You then consume the medallion to get a random skill transfer. And yeah, it's like a 1 in 4 chance. It's a big pain in the butt. Right now, you want Speedmaster on a majority of Wonder's personas. And yeah, it's just not, it's tough odds. I remember I spent like, I don't know, like 30 cappuccinos, which is the energy refill for Memento Stamina, just trying to get my Dionysus squared away. And yeah, I got super unlucky. It sucked. But if they're already like saying, all right, you know, maybe let's tweak the revelation cards a little bit. Maybe Persona Fusion will also get tweaked. So while it's true, I do have some criticisms. I like the game a lot. It's not perfect, but a lot of these games aren't. And if Blackwing Studios continues with this quality of life, it's going to have a great reputation. If you're not interested in gacha games, no matter what, I'm not going to convince you. That is not the goal of this video. But for those who do enjoy them, either hardcore or casually, there is a lot for Persona fans here, and it's only going to get better. If you are interested in more P5X coverage and gameplay, check out my side channel, JohneAwesome, where I'll be posting guides, walkthroughs, characters, impressions, etc. when the game comes out globally. That's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you next time. More videos coming soon. Bye.